Hey guys, before the video starts, my analytics are telling me that the majority of you watching these videos aren't actually subscribed, so take a quick second and subscribe with post notifications on to know when all my videos are out, as you can be the first to watch them. Let's get into the video. Well guys, we are here. What's going on guys? It is Top 10 Wrestling and welcome to part 3 of my TNA documentary series. It's taken a little longer to come out than the other parts have. That's just because I've been enjoying making the other content that I have. And yeah, this is part 3 of 4, and we're going to be talking about a debacle, well, multiple debacles that saw TNA lose its name, nearly go out of business, and push the wrong guy as their champion. Before we do get onto that though, if you haven't seen the first 2 parts, I'll leave links to both of them in the description. But let's just get right into it. Where we last left off, TNA was switching between TV deals, and when we last left off, they were on Pop TV, having been dropped by Spike before moving to Destination America and leaving after just 1 year of being in that TV deal. The deal with Pop TV was signed on November 15th, 2015. However, earlier that year, something major happened because on April 27th, 2015, Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins joined TNA as Senior Producer of Creative and Talent Development. Billy Corgan is well known to be a wrestling fan and had ventured in the wrestling business before, starting his own promotion called Resistance Pro in Chicago. Corgan's role was for him to develop characters and create storylines, and Corgan called the acquisition of this job a dream come true for him. The next year also saw some major wrestlers departing from TNA: Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Velvet Sky, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and even longtime commentator Taz. All these guys were longtime TNA servants and are closely associated with the company when you talk about TNA, and they all left. But going back to Billy Corgan, because just a year and a half later, after being appointed as the Senior Producer of Creative and Talent Development, he was appointed as the President of the company. He replaced Dixie Carter, who stepped down to Chairwoman and Chief Strategy Officer. And you know what? This was a good move for TNA. I mean, Corgan was actually a wrestling fan. And, you know, Dixie Carter, well, she wasn't. However, this all went horribly wrong, and in turn put TNA in a PR hailstorm. On October 13th, 2016, just 2 months after being appointed president of the company, Billy Corgan filed a lawsuit against TNA due to an unpaid debt that he claimed TNA had defaulted on. And while this was happening, reports were surfacing that the state of Tennessee had issued a tax line against TNA for unpaid taxes. Forbes quoted in an article that the debt is so bad that the state could have the right to seize TNA property if the debt is not repaid, and they also stated that it seems the last days of TNA are definitely upon us. The general consensus going around the whole wrestling community was that this is it for TNA, and this is where the plug is finally pulled on them. However, TNA managed to pull through, and they just refused to die, and on November 3rd, they announced that Anthem Sports and Entertainment were funding TNA in paying back the loans and debt, and that Corgan was no longer the president of the company. Anthem would go on to buy a majority stake in the company in January 2017, and Dixie Carter resigned as chairwoman after nearly 14 years with the company. So in the space of 6 months, a new president has came in, that president being the lead singer of a very popular rock band. He has sued the company. That same company were in trouble with the government of a state. Everyone thought they were going to die, but another large company stepped in, paid all the loans back and the debt, saved them, and now owns a majority stake in the company. The president, Billy Corgan, left, and the chairwoman, who's been there for 14 years, also left. So much has happened. Also in that same month of January 2017, Jeff Jarrett was brought back to the company as a consultant. He was brought back while he was having struggles with his own company, Global Force Wrestling, and this was the beginning of the end for TNA. Well, actually, it wasn't the beginning of the end for TNA. It was the beginning of the end for Impact, as on March 2nd, all appearances and references of the name TNA were completely dropped. This was probably due to the fact that there was a whole PR nightmare with the TNA name during this Billy Corgan incident, and I guess you could say that this was the day that TNA Wrestling died. The name, of course, not the company, because at this point, the company truly will just never die. TNA was officially branded Impact Wrestling, and it was during this time that even more wrestlers left the company. Drew McIntyre, the Hardy Boys, Mike and Maria Kanellis, all among them, all going to WWE. 3 of which I actually saw debut live, Drew McIntyre and the Hardy Boys. That was pretty cool. I popped very hard for the Hardy Boys. So it seemed like TNA were finally recovering from everything that happened. They're giving themselves a new name and were starting a new chapter for themselves. But no, because on April 20th, Impact Wrestling announced a merger between them and GFW, and once again, Impact was rebranded, this time taking the name of Global Force Wrestling. It's very ironic that this happened on April 20th, 420, because they must have been smoking something when they came up with this decision. This merger was very short-lived, and as a result, many fans were lost, mainly due to the fact these rebrands were so confusing, and your casual fan isn't gonna know what the hell Global Force Wrestling is, because Global Force Wrestling never took off, and why Impact would want to take that name, a name of a company that isn't popular at all, is beyond me. All Impact and GFW belts were unified, with LAX being the unified tag champion and Sienna being the unified women's champion, and the worst man becoming the unified world champion and becoming the face of the company. That man being Alberto Del Rio, who would beat Magnus to become the GFW Global Champion and then beat Bobby Lashley to unify both belts, the Global Championship and the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Him being the face of the company and the top guy was not a good idea. And you know what? To explain why this wasn't a good idea, I'm just going to play an extract from my most recent video. My most recent video was called the Top 5 Worst TNA World Champions of All Time. And on this list, I placed Alberto Del Rio at number 1. So here you go. And number 1 is Alberto Del Rio, or as he was in Impact, Alberto El Patron. El Patron was positioned as the guy to be the top star of TNA when they merged with Global Force Wrestling, aka GFW. Alberto's first reign of the Impact World title took place on March 2nd, 2017, literally his first night in Impact. He won it from Bobby Lashley, however, he relinquished the title literally the next night, so what really was the point? So that was his first reign, 1 day long. On the May 11th episode of Impact, he defeated Magnus to win the GFW Global Championship and would go on to face Lashley for the TNA World title in a unification match at Slammiversary, which he won, thus unifying the titles and positioning Del Rio as the top star of GFW/Impact. To this day, we still don't really know what it was called. However, on July 12th, Del Rio was suspended by GFW due to a real-life domestic incident involving his then-girlfriend, WWE Women's Wrestler Paige. As a result of the suspension, he was stripped of the title, ending his reign at 40 days. And the rest of Del Rio's time in TNA was pretty lackluster anyway. He never really won any titles, and he was released from TNA in April 2018 due to no showing the Lucha Underground vs Impact event. I've also realised I've kept on calling it TNA when at this period it's just Impact, so ignore that. Del Rio was not the right guy to be positioned as the top guy in this time for the company. He was unreliable in terms of showing up to shows and very problematic behind the scenes, and I think there's a reason why no major company has really signed him since. Like I said, the GFW merger was super short-lived. In September of that year, Jeff Jarrett took an indefinite leave of absence due to personal issues, and Anthem slowly started renaming the company back to Impact once again, and on October 23rd, the termination of their partnership with GFW was officially announced, and that ended that chapter. And this, in a way, kind of brings us to where we are now. They've continued to use the name Impact, and since this, they moved to the Pursuit channel in December 2018, and now moved to Axis just recently. And Impact in 2019, I gotta say, is really good. Like, It's really good. I know I've done 3 documentary parts talking about why this company had its downfall, but this company now is in a good spot. They have a great TV deal, an amazing roster, and very soon could be making history. And you know what? They're really good right now. They're putting out a really good and interesting product. And I spoiled it in the comments of the last part, but part 4 is going to be all about why I genuinely think you should watch Impact, and talking about why Impact is actually really good and why this company is in the best shape it's been in a damn long time at this day and time. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you did enjoy, smash that like button. I'm going to give a quick update on when part 4 is going to come out. I think there's going to be a bit of a gap between this and part 4. I'm not too sure yet. I just have so many other video ideas that I want to do in terms of the worst of TNA. I want to do some more top 5s. You guys voted for top 5 worst X Division champions. That video will come out very soon. I want to do some classic pay-per-view reviews. And I even want to start venturing into some stuff from WWE that was really bad, you know? I don't want this to be an exclusively Impact channel. I want to just talk about and laugh at the worst of wrestling. That's what I want this channel to be now, pretty much. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy, smash the like button. I hope you've enjoyed the 3 parts talking about TNA's downfall. And for part 4, obviously, we're going to be talking about why Impact is good. So that kind of ends the chapter of all the bad stuff that I'm talking about in TNA in this documentary series. But yeah, I'll see you all soon. Follow me on Twitter at @TalkTonWrestling. Subscribe with post notifications on. Subscribe to my second channel. I need to get uploading on that again. Links in the description. Follow me on Instagram @AmTomBell. My name is Top 10 Wrestling. Goodbye. And keep on rolling.